I want to thank all of you for joining us here tonight. My name is Lucero Irizarry. My pronouns are she, her, and ella. I am an early learning program manager at Alameda County Office of Education, and I also coordinate our local planning council. Tonight, we will hear from other early childhood educational professionals about serving younger children. But I want to start off the evening by acknowledging what has been a very difficult week for many of us. The results of the election, both nationally and locally, have many of us feeling like these are uncertain times. Hopefully, by gathering here tonight and learning from each other, we can feel the support of our early childhood community. Our focus tonight is how the early childhood education field is shifting, and we hope hearing perspectives from other providers will help many of you who might be considering a shift in care to younger children. This could mean that you are a private center and you are considering decreasing the age of children you accept to 2-year-olds. Or you may be a family childcare provider thinking about accepting infants into your programs. Or you're a teacher at a private preschool and have noticed that there are more younger children in your classroom. Tonight, we hope you gain some insight into how to determine if serving younger children is right for you and your program. And if you have begun to serve younger children already, we hope you share tips and advice on adequately integrating younger children into your program during our small group breakout activities. A reminder that all of tonight's participants are invited to attend an in-person event this weekend. We will be at First Pres Church of Oakland this Saturday, November 16 from 10 to 12. We are giving away a bag of children's books related to our topic today. We're also going to give away some STEM books for infants and toddlers. And as always, we'll be offering breakfast and resource tables. There is also going to be a workshop led by Tandem Partners in Early Learning on early language and the growing brain. This event is also eligible for professional development hours. We really hope to see you there. If you haven't already registered, the information has been posted on the chat for you. And we also want to invite you to our December 9th Let's Talk Early Learning event. Let's Talk sessions are held in the evenings and on Zoom. And they're informal ways for you to get to know other early learning professionals and to talk about subjects that are top of mind for the field. Please take a look at the screen and the chat for additional information. We have 3 wonderful facilitators from Oakland Unified School District, Yvonne Garcia, Annette Wright, and Nini Humphreys, who host breakout rooms in both English and in Spanish. Now, for some background and some meeting housekeeping, we are going to turn over to Ellen Dektar from First Five Alameda County, who is co-hosting this event with me today. So Ellen, take it away.
Hello, thank you so much, Lucero, and welcome everyone. It's so great to see you all, and thank you for being here. My name is Ellen Dektar. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a senior administrator at First Five Alameda in the early childhood division. And I have had the joy of working on early childhood issues in Alameda County for almost 25 years. So, we're going to start off tonight hearing from 4 speakers, and then we will be going into breakout rooms to share and expand on what we learned around 7:30 p.m. Before we begin, I just wanted to share some housekeeping items for this meeting. We will have a specific time for questions for speakers after they have all concluded. If you have a question during the Q&A, please use the raise hand feature by clicking on the reactions button and clicking raise hand option below the emojis. You can also ask questions in the chat. We will do our best to answer all questions, but some may need follow-up. This meeting is being recorded and will be shared widely, so please keep that in mind as you participate. As we go through our presentations, you do not need your video on, but please turn them on during the breakout sessions happening later in the event. The breakouts are not being recorded. We know that many of you joining today will be receiving professional development credits, and those certificates will be emailed out to you right after tonight's event. We will also be sending out the resources shared tonight in an email, so check your inboxes. So we'd like to begin our session by recognizing historical injustices. Please take a moment to locate the native land you are on right now by going to the link we will put in the chat if it's not there already. After you do that, or if you already know, please take a moment and add the lands you are on right now to the chat. Right now, I am on Ohlone land. We would also like to recognize and acknowledge the labor upon which our country was built. We remember that our country was built on the labor of enslaved people, primarily of African descent, and recognize the continued contribution of their survivors. We also acknowledge all immigrant and indigenous labor who contributed to the building of this country and continue to serve within our labor force. We acknowledge the labor inequities and the shared responsibility for combating oppressive systems in our daily work. So thank you so much for participating in that land and labor acknowledgement. And it's my pleasure to now introduce to you our first speaker tonight, Dr. LaWanda Wesley. Many of you may know LaWanda from her work with Oakland Unified School District and the local planning council, where I had the privilege of working with LaWanda. LaWanda is also one of the architects of the Oakland Starting Smart and Strong Boys of Color work. She's currently the Director of Government Relations for CCRC, and we are so pleased she can be here tonight to share with us the bigger picture about universal transitional kindergarten and its impact on early childhood education. Welcome, LaWanda.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Happy Wednesday. We're only 2 days away from the weekend, so here we go. I like to share with you how we sort of got here and serving 2-year-olds. And in last year's session, legislative session, there was a trailer bill, AB 163, and that's Assembly Bill 163 and Senate Bill 163 that mirror each other to say that we can serve 2-year-olds. It's not required, it's just a desired opportunity to serve 2-year-olds in our state preschool programs. Once that bill was signed on July 2nd of this year, 2024, it became a law effectively. And so this bill will remain in law, in statute, until it sunsets on June 30th, 2027. So we have the opportunity to enroll 2-year-olds into our program that is state funded for preschool programs. And that includes children expanding from 24 months as much as 35 months, but hyper focus on our 24-month-olds. The California Department of Education, CDE, did release interim guidance on July 15th, 2025. So I will go to the next slide. One of the things we want to understand is that serving our younger 2-year-olds is part of a larger universal preschool vision that the California Department of Education has, a larger vision that our governor has of supporting children's holistic needs. And you'll see these range of services from universal meals, to making sure that we provide professional learning to those of you who work directly with our children and families, to having community schools, and then just really just thinking about how we serve even 4-year-olds now in transitional K. And when that decision was made to start serving children in transitional K, many children started going into those programs, but what it meant is that for children who are in our family childcare settings, in our Head Start programs, our community-based programs, it did mean that there were less 4-year-olds being served in these settings. And so the state tried to respond to the call and said, well, we also see that there are 2-year-olds that are sitting on our waiting list that are not being served. So now that 4-year-olds, some of our 4-year-olds have moved to local education agencies, and that setting, we can make space for our 2-year-olds. So we will go to the next slide. And again, this speaks more or less to the same, what I just lifted up. It's now being considered as a community approach, that families have many choices of where their children can go, whether they're in a state-funded program, they're participating in a voucher program that pays a portion of their fees, again, or if they're in a local education agency where they're participating in a state-funded preschool program. And now preschool is sort of looking at our 2-year-olds and all the way up to our 4-year-olds. So we can go to the next slide. Here is just showing that when you start thinking about the landscape of preschool, and here you see a diagram of like everything is starting here in this scenario, looking at 3-year-olds and the pathway to starting kindergarten. So you'll see in this diagram, Noah, who's attending a family childcare home, who's part of a family education network, meaning they're attached to either a education network with a school district, or they could be attached to a Head Start program. But when Noah gets to Noah can then go from there into a public school setting and go to TK. Then you have Liam, who attends a licensed preschool program, Center State Preschool Program, and spends that entire time there and then goes to kindergarten. And then you have Emma, who can be in a state preschool program in the morning, say, for example, and then maybe in the afternoon is in a TK program. And then the last child you'll see is Nina, who attends a full day state preschool program in a tribal community and then goes to kindergarten. And we just show you this because, again, we have these 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds in these different settings, and yet 2-year-olds have been sitting on our waiting list, not being served. And so the state says we can now serve them because we have children in these different age cohorts who are in many different settings. So we'll go to our next slide. And this is just giving a little bit more of the same information. But if you look at the second bullet, with this new enrollment, it does put state preschool programs for 2-year-olds at what they call the 4th priority, meaning you've provided services for your 3- and 4-year-olds first in all the categories. But when they're all served, now you can start looking at serving your 2-year-olds, whether it be part day or whether it be full day. That is a choice. It's not a requirement. It's just a choice and option. And that service can be provided for 24 months. When you make that decision, or should you make that decision, you do need to notify community care licensing. You don't have to re-up your license. You just need to notify them that you are now serving 2-year-olds, so they're aware of it. You do have to adhere to health and safety standards and codes related to Title 22, as well as Title V program standards. So those are things that will be applicable now that you're serving those 2-year-olds in your program. So we'll go to the next slide. What I always like to do when I'm with family childcare providers, and I've done a similar presentation with them, about 300-400 folks just about 2 months ago, is really talk about what are the developmental milestones. And I always start at the year 1, just so you could see sort of like the continuum of where children are in their cognitive, intellectual development, how they engage in play, communication, and then their physical motor skills, including small and large motor development. And you can see for just a 1-year-old, they understand the concept of no, they can push and pull toys, they mimic simple words and sounds, they'll mimic and go back and forth with you if you do it. And a lot of these kids stay standing in one spot without much help. They're pretty independent that way. You get to the 18-month-old, they can touch their nose, they look for objects when you hide them. They start babbling and start using one word to almost 2-word sentences. And then they try to run by fast. When you're walking, they'll try to like compete with you. Now you're getting into that 2-year-old who's 24 months. These kids can start doing like puzzle pieces, 2 to 3 piece puzzle pieces. These kids can start taking off lids on the jar. So they're getting very curious, manipulative. They're very exploratory. They can use more than gestures to communicate. Again, these kids are starting to use 2 to 3 word sentences, if not more. They can climb stairs while holding onto the rail, which means they're becoming more and more autonomous and more independent. And so we'll go to the next slide. I went to the CDC website just to get a little bit more. I'm not going to read this verbatim, but you start to really get to understand that these are children, when you think about their social emotional development, when they get hurt, they're very upset. They look to see when someone's looking at them when they're crying. They look at your face to see how you react. If you're scared, they think they should be scared. If you're okay, they're like, I guess I'm okay. Their language communication, they can point to things in the book. If you say, where's the bear? They'll point to the bear. So you sort of get the gist of it. We'll go to the next slide. And then the CDC goes on and talks more about how they play. They play with more than one toy at a time. So these are the kids who are moving very actively, toy to toy to toy. It's almost like you wish you had their energy to get through your own workday, because they're just that busy and just that engaged. And I always say that play is children's work, right? It's the highest form of work and their highest form of learning. So it's their job to be that busy so that they can have new experiences every day and start to assimilate and accommodate that information into their brain. These kids physically are kicking balls, they're running, they're walking, they're not quite climbing, but they are starting to attempt climbing motions. Again, these are kids who could take a few stair steps without much help, but they still might look for you with a little bit of assistance, depending how high the stairs are. They can start eating independently with a spoon, but might need a little bit of assistance. So we'll go to the next slide. As compared to our 3-year-olds, and I just want to make sure I have that caveat, as compared to our 3 and 4-year-olds, these children have higher care needs. They are becoming more autonomous. They are becoming more independent. But as they're on that road to that, that part of their life, they do have more toilet learning development, which is all a part of their holistic development. They have emergent independent skills. So they're getting there. They want to learn things. They get frustrated when they can't do some things by themselves because they want to be there. So when you're helping them and giving them just a little bit of scaffolding and helping them with those supports, they're very excited. These are little ones who still nap. Yes, they still nap. and need some rest periods. And then again, back to the feeding assistance and then requiring still a little bit more one-on-one. And you'll see the picture here. These kids, we can't expect them to sit still. If you think they're going to sit still, you are going to be sadly disappointed. It is not their job to sit still. Again, their job is to explore much parts of their environment. And so anything you're doing to try to get them to sit still for long periods of time is counterproductive. So anyway, we'll go to the next slide. So what I want to do is just create a pause. We won't answer these questions now because we want to make sure we stay on time for the other presenters, but I have in here questions I use with some family child care providers because they are also starting to serve many younger children. And they were trying to figure out, should they increase the number of younger children they serve? You know, can they do this with the assistance of another adult? And one of the things we asked, what are the benefits of serving younger children? That's a question you could pose for yourself. What are the concerns of serving younger children? How do I prepare to continue to meet the children's developmental needs? What are the staffing patterns? I'm hearing more folks are needing to go back and get that specialization of learning about infant toddler development. It's much that, these are still children whose development is measured by months because it's that drastically different. We're not measuring by year to year. We're still measuring by months because that changeover is still very critical. And then what are the health and safety needs in serving these younger children, knowing what I shared with you, where they are in their development, and then what questions still need to be considered if you're thinking about serving these children. Are some kids still in pull-ups and so on? So these are lots of questions to be asked and answered as a community, in your program, as staff, as administrators, not to say not to serve these younger children, just to say, let's have a dialogue and have a conversation, which is why we're here as the beginning of that conversation. So I will rest my facilitation for this part of our session, and we are complete with me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lawanda. And after our speakers have concluded, we're going to have a question and answer period. In the meantime, if you do have a burning question, please put it in the chat. Lawanda will be reviewing and responding as we transition to our next speaker. And I would now like to introduce you to Luis Arenas, who is the Vice President of Children and Family Services at the Unity Council in Oakland. Unity Council operates for 5 early Head Start programs and Head Start sites in Oakland and 1 in Concord. And Luis is going to share with us the Unity Council's journey in providing infant and toddler care. And I'll hand it over to you, Luis.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being here at this hour. I know it's late, but very happy that you're here. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to share with you our experiences. As was just said, the Unity Council, we serve several sites in Oakland and Concord, and most recently we're opening sites in Contra Costa, in Richmond, Pittsburgh, so all over the Bay Area, right, all over the East Bay. So very happy about that. And a lot of the sites some of the sites are infant toddler, which is early Head Start CCTR based only. So I'm here to really just talk about more of like the logistical and practical aspects of this, right? What it means in terms of actually switching over. So we've done some conversion, which means that we have moved some of our slots that we served previously for preschool over to infant toddler care. So just talk a little bit about what that means and the reasons for that. But basically, a lot of the main reasons that we have done that for is need, right? Community need, right? And that has changed a lot over the past few years, especially since TK, right? We've seen fewer, our enrollment numbers drop quite a bit in our preschool funded programs, which we operate Head Start and it's blended with CSPP state-funded program, right? So the family knows, it's no different for the family. They're both served in the same program. But we've seen a drop in a lot of that, right? So, and we also conducted a community assessment, like what is the need? And of course, as you can imagine, the need for infant toddler care is very, very high, right? And while the need for preschool care, of course, is still there, right? It's eclipsed by the high need of infant toddler care. So our state-funded program has, as you can see, CSPP has encouraging a shift to serving younger age groups of ages 2 and up, right? There's been a lot of expansion also in CCTR, which is the infant toddler version, essentially, of the state program, for those that aren't aware of it. So there's been a big push, a big move, really even at the state level, at the federal level, to really serve the highest need, which is infant toddler, right? So go to the next slide, please. Okay, so some of the things about what we've really learned about it is once we've made that decision to make the change, and for the continuing programs that we have that we serve infant toddler slots, there's something to keep in mind is about training, right? Infant toddler development training. As you know, right, preschool care, preschool education differs quite a bit from serving infants and toddlers, especially infants, right? So at our program, like I said, we're an early Head Start and CCTR program. We require that we have, that they're fully qualified in infant toddler development. Typically, that means, at least it's a start, that it means that they have at least their 6 units of infant toddler care. And not only is that a requirement, but also it's, like I said, just the beginning, right? Kind of like the baseline of where we want our staff to be at. And then we also want to work on working with them on understanding the developmental milestones, right? Supporting the social emotional growth of children and ensuring safety, right? So while a lot of this can transfer over, obviously, from their experiences in preschool, teachers that move from preschool over to infant toddler care obviously will note that this is not the same, right? They're working with a completely different group, with a group of children that are in a different developmental stage than what they're used to. So those are things that you want to keep in mind, right, when you're switching over, or if you're converting, or if you're adding infant toddler care, is that it's a different type of training that you want to focus on and you want to work with. This also impacts your the cost, right, of training. You would have to work on reinvestment for training for your staff, for your team, right? If it's yourself, it's a family childcare provider, or if you're the center and you're switching over to serving infant and toddlers, there's going to be a reinvestment in funds. So keep that in mind, that there's going to be a cost implication to that. And going along with that is environment, right? As you know, obviously, you will have to think about the costs and the space needed to furnish classrooms that would serve infants and toddlers. Shifting from preschool to infant toddler friendly furniture and materials such as cribs, high chairs, soft play areas. When you're talking about cribs as well, right, you also got to think about napping rooms, napping areas, right? And you also got to think about the space you need, right? So sometimes your typical preschool classroom cannot easily just convert into an infant classroom, because you also got to think about the cribs, right? There's a lot of things that come into play when you're making that switch. So it's not just, well, even if you have funds to replace furniture, it's also spacing, right? Making sure that you have enough space between the cribs, especially for the nap area. And of course, the cost of buying materials also changes, right? So you got to remember that budgeting for these environment changes and adaptations can add up quickly, right? So, but it's a long-term investment that you'll definitely see positive outcomes in. So ratios, as you know, infant toddler care has different ratios. So like I said, we are an early Head Start in the CCTR program. for our infants, anybody under 12 months, right, we follow 1-to-3 ratio. And above that is a 1-to-4 ratio versus 1-to-8 that we follow for CSPP and Head Start, right? So that's double the amount of staff that you need for the children, right? So when you're if you're deciding to convert, you got to think about those costs, because you're either, if you want to convert with a similar number of children, then it's going to increase the amount of staffing that you need, or if you're just making a conversion, then you're going to reduce the number of slots that you have. And how does that impact your reimbursement rates and your payments, right? So those operational costs you have to really consider, right? And before you make a call of converting. We just converted two of our classrooms. This is like a couple years ago. We converted 2 of our classrooms in one of our Concord programs from serving two classrooms double session to 2 classrooms double session preschool to 2 classrooms of infant and toddlers specifically. So it went from having 32 children down 32 preschool children down to 16 toddlers. And the amount of staff that we had is the same number, right? But we lost obviously almost half of the number of slots, because going down, right, required for us a larger teacher-child ratio. So keep that in mind, that your numbers will change, especially if you're trying to look at it from a financial perspective. Okay, so as I just adding on to the financial considerations, remember that when you're looking at a 1-to-3 or 1-to-4 ratio versus a 1-to-8 or higher ratio, that while you may have the same number of teachers at the end of the day, right, your reimbursement rate or the amount that you will be charging if you're a private care will definitely change, right? But then you have to look at it through a perspective of how you're offsetting it, right? If you're increasing the number, you're decreasing the number of slots, right? But you are increasing the reimbursement rate of the cost per child, because infant toddler care is much higher. You want to take a look at how that you can implement that. How is it that will actually work with you? And looking at your budgets, right, to making sure that you're also looking at other costs such as food costs, right? Diapers, if your program will provide that for your family, right? The cost of foods, formula, all that stuff, right, definitely adds up, and it's different. It is more expensive than feeding preschool children in certain aspects of it, right? Not all the times, but it could depend on the needs of the child and the individual child. So take that into consideration as well when you're looking at looking at changing or converting or adding infant toddlers to your program. So as just wanting to conclude that, I think that obviously serving infant toddlers is a great opportunity. It is in high demand. It's something that our community desperately really needs, right? Especially with our working families. So think about this, but you gotta, like I said, plan out in advance what your goal is, right? What your financial situation is, what the community need is, and to see how it is that you can go about this, right? Consider, like I said, there's a change obviously in training for staff, right? If you're providing curriculum, the type of curriculum, developmental milestones change, right? You have to look at it through a different lens altogether, right? And then of course the financial implication of what that means, right? And also know that, you know, infant toddlers, they usually require more of a fuller day. But that's one of the other aspects of it, is when we switched over from part day preschool sessions, preschool slots to infant toddlers being there for 8 or more hours a day, because that's the need, right? That's what you want to look into that. So it is a more costly operation, but definitely a much more in demand and higher need program. So yeah, thank you guys.
Okay.
Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Okay, I'll tell her no Chrome.
Yeah,
no
no
gel.
problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, I think we've got
Thank you
someone
so much.
off mute.
Go to the middle.
Yeah.
Middle. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Luis. And I'm now going to pass it over to Kavitha Ramesh, who is a center director with Cadengo in Hayward, and she's going to share about their work providing care. to younger children.
Lisa, you need to come off mute.
We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
All right.
Yes, we
Awesome.
now. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Kavita Ramesh. I'm the Center Director at Kidango Hillview Crest, located at Hayward, Alameda County. The next slide, please. And our center is located in an elementary school. We are a part-day preschool center which serves children ages 3 to 5 years of age. We are licensed to serve 24 children in the AM session and 24 children in the PM session. There are 3 staff members in the classroom, including myself, the CD, the associate teacher, and the teacher's aide. Next slide, please. Okay. And the question was asked, like, do you see an increase in the number of young children, and how do you accommodate these younger children in your program? And this is what I think as a CD. Previously, we would have a number of 4 to 5-year-old children in our classrooms, and we would gear more towards the academic side to help the children get ready for kindergarten. Currently, with the TK program in full swing, we have mostly three-year-olds in our classroom. And these children are basically like older toddlers and need more care with basic needs like feeding, diapering, and socio-emotional needs. And they're so egocentric in their approach too. So in our classroom, our focus is more about children, creating trust with the teachers, other children, and their environment. So we do more free play and cater towards the children's interests. And as teachers, we have more communication between each other. And when a child needs help, one of the teachers goes and helps that child, but the other teachers can take care of the rest of the children. Of course, it does get difficult sometimes because more than one children need help at the same time, and as they are so egocentric in their approach at this age. The next slide, please. All right. The question was like, what are the tips we use to serve younger children currently in our program? And basically, we are adjusting to the new norm of having younger children in our program. And plus, with the younger children, we have inclusion children in our program also. Like we have increased our supervision and keep the doors locked at all times. And I mean, supervised and locked sometimes because we have some runners too. We have more toddler toys in the classroom, which help with the younger children. We do more academic activities for the older children, like the 4-year-olds, maybe in smaller groups, but not in a large group. And we have more sensory play in the classroom. And our circle times are much shorter than previously. It's like we keep it less than 15 minutes and with lot more songs with finger play songs and other songs. And with the repeated read aloud books, we try to pick out books with less words, more repeating words, and also with big images which can capture their attention. So, and we try to read the same book like repeatedly because children like repetition a lot more. Okay. And also we try to prioritize the needs of the children in the program, and we have more communication with the teaching staff, and we step in whenever the teacher is feeling a little overwhelmed, or we help each other out a lot in the classroom. Next slide, please. So the question was, what is with the shift as a director? Do you think anything would be useful to share? And this is what I've seen. Taking one day at a, I sometimes I get very less time to work as do my administrative work in the classroom because I'm an in ratio CD. I'm on the field all the time. I do have help with an administrative aide once a week, but sometimes it does get overwhelming in the classroom. But what I have found useful for myself and my teaching staff, we always talk about this, is being present at the moment and taking one day at a time. Just take things slowly, breathe, and breathe in and breathe out. And having smaller, realistic, and singular goals for the children, not try to change them or try to get them developed in one day or 2 days. Give them the time to develop. Okay, it's okay. Just one goal is good enough for even 2 months. It's okay as long as the child is getting the goal, and and not get overwhelmed in the process. Having very good communication and working as a team, not only with the teachers but with the parents too, and that helps a lot. And again, some days are awesome while some days are pretty challenging, but we as a team do this job with a passion and with a singular goal of helping children become successful in their life. Okay, because this age is most important for the socio-emotional part of their life. And once that is set, everything follows, in my opinion, at least. Like academics follows once the child is able to trust the environment and the child can make friends and stuff like that. Okay, and seeing the children's needs changing the flow of the day, and sometimes even basically changing the curriculum to be make it really simple with open-ended activities, it helps a lot. And we have more visuals in the classroom because we have more children with the dual language learners, more children with needs, and much younger children too. So visuals help a lot with them. And the internet has been a great resource to find these visuals. And also, thankfully, I'm in Kidango, and Kidango is a company which has mental health consultation for teachers. And we have behavioral support specialists and developmental specialists which help with children with needs. And again, there are many more kids, but less specialists. We would like more specialists. And that's my take on this subject. Okay, I hope this helps, and I thank you for the opportunity, and this has been a wonderful experience for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kavitha. Your enthusiasm is catching even at this hour of night after a long day with the children. We appreciate it. We will
Thank
now
you.
hear, yeah, and we'll now hear from Natanya Mitchell, who is a family child care provider in Oakland. Take it away, Natanya.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Natanya Mitchell. I am owner and operator of Young at Heart Daycare in Oakland, California. I'm located by Mills College. I have over 20 years experience working with children, preschool, and I have an extensive background working with children with autism. So being a daycare provider, there are many things that we look at as far as with integrating younger kids with our older children. For me in particular, when I know that I'm having a younger child come into my facility, I prep my older kids and letting them know we're going to have a new friend. Our new friend is about 1 year old. What does that mean to you? What does one look like? One means they can't do this by themselves. One means so we're listening back and forth to see what my older kids understand what a 1 year old does. Were you one before? Yeah, I was one before. And so having them being prepared for the new child to come into the daycare is something that I prepare my kids for, because just like the new students starting, your former kids also don't want to be kind of caught off guard, like, oh, this is a new kid, what's going on? So giving the comfortability when your kids who are already with you are comfortable, then the new kid coming in will be comfortable too, because they're already ready for them. And for me, taking in younger children is just a priority that I love. I love taking in younger kids because you'll be amazed at how quickly they adapt, how quickly they're able to see what's going on, and basically circle time is just like it's a new thing for them. So they're engaged, they're looking, they're watching the older kids, and the older kids are feeling very confident because they're able to show the younger children what we do at circle time. What's next? What goes on? For me in particular, my circle time is a child chooses 2 books. We do our calendar. We do the day of the week. We go over our numbers, our shapes, our letters. So it's something that's repetitious, just like Kavitha said. It's something that I do all the time. So my kids are used to it. So when my younger students start, I have a chair ready for them. They're sitting there, they're engaged, they're ready to be, a part of it because it's exciting, but also letting the older students know that one thing we have to do, safety. Safety is something that I teach all my kids at all times. Safety as far as walking, safety as far as when you're playing, making sure that no one's behind you, making sure that you can see our friend. And I do every 4 to 5 minutes, I'll go, stop, where's our little friend? And everyone stop what they're doing. They look around, they're right here. Great. Okay, let's continue playing. So it's something that they're reminded of throughout the day, so they're not feeling overwhelmed. They're not feeling kind of nervous around a younger child. And so for that, my younger students are always just ready for action, ready to go. It's something that they look forward to, and I'm always excited. I take them as young as 6 months. I've had a 6-month-old, and she's now 4. So she's now my leader. So now I'm like, can you go get me the crayons? Can you give me the pencils? Can you get us paper? Pass out this. It's like having an assistant. And I have 2 4-year-olds. So I have 2 like well-equipped assistants who know the classroom, who know where things are. Can you get 2 chairs? Can you get the little chair for our friend? So it's just a process. And the way that you operate and run your daycare, your facility makes it easier or more accommodable for everyone. So no one feels overwhelmed. Nap time, I know that's the biggest thing. They're like, they're younger, they're older. Everyone naps at the same time with me. That's something that I am very proud to say, and I have honed my skills with it. We all nap at the same time. We all lay down at the same time. Everyone is sleeping at the same time. And I've had 6-month-olds sleep with my older kids. No problem. In their crib, right along with the older children, they're asleep. And that's something that I'm very proud to say that I have just mastered that skill of making sure that the child is sleeping with the older kids. Because one, it gives that younger child the comfortability. I'm sleeping with my friends in the same area. We all have this quiet time. And so that's something that's it's a good thing. Mealtime, all at the same time. I run my facility just like an older classroom, just like a 5, 6, or 7-year-old. So my youngest to my oldest, all of them are really, really just well adapted. And it's something that I'm just really, really proud of. I do have a small video of one of my, he's 1 years old. He just turned 1 in August, and he started with me in September. So this video you're gonna see, he's been with me for 1 month. So 1 month we've been doing our welcome, our hellos, our all of this stuff. And so I just want you to see how fast he caught on. So we can play the video.
Today was Thursday, a seer, Thursday.
Go Darcy.
Here,
Go
seer, put it on.
Go Darcy.
Uh-oh, turn it over, bud. Yes, good job. You did it.
And as you can see, he knew what to do. He watched the older children put the date on there, put it on. He clapped, and in the background, you can hear my other students saying, go Seer, go, because they're motivating him to do it too. So he already knew, oh, it's my turn. It's time for me to do something. And so he did it with no problem. And so this is just something I wanted to give other providers out there. You find that niche and work with what's best for you. Don't feel like you have to go by the book or go by a certain plan of action. Work with what's best for you. If your kids like song and dance, my kids love song and dance. Start off with song and dance. Get them warmed up. They are now into yoga. I don't know who introduced that to them, but we're doing yoga now. So there's something that all the kids want to do. And if you are following um, that path, your kids will just fall into line. And it's just something that makes it fun. I love what I do. I have a passion for what I do. We can go from reading books to science to animals. We're bouncing back and forth, but learning is to be made fun. The foundation is to be fun. Once they leave from here, it's nothing but up, and you're teaching your children just beautiful ways of enjoying education in a different light, in a different format, and making it just a fun activity. Tomorrow we're making French toast sticks. They're excited. I'm excited. It's just something that they're looking forward to doing. So it's just always remember, how you teach is what they remember. It's not the way, they're not going, we didn't do it by the book. We're going by what we're comfortable with. And my last little piece is reach out to your R&Rs, reach out to your referral and resources and say, hey, I'm taking younger kids. I have the accommodation for younger children. I have the high chairs. I have the little seats. And there's some things I had to get, but otherwise, he's thriving very well. He's doing very well, and he's talking now and just engaging in different lights. And I just want to thank everyone this evening for just being here and being a part of this, and just thanking you guys all for just being a part of early childhood education. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Natanya, for your words of wisdom and your leadership. Really appreciate it. Love the video of your little guy. And now we are going to take questions for our speakers. You can use the raise hand features in Zoom, or you can put your question in the chat. And we have time for about 2 or 3 questions. So let's talk.
Hello, my name's Deviante. I think I saw it earlier in the slide, but I just want to confirm, when should we be expecting toddlers to be entering these preschools?
I can take that. There isn't, I mean, the law went into effect July 2nd, but there isn't a requirement. So it'll vary from program to program, and each program will make a decision if they will indeed serve 2-year-olds, but they'll need to serve their first, second, and third priority category first before they start to serve the younger 2-year-olds. So it's, again, not a required, it's not required. It is a program by program decision. It just makes it permissible and allowable.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Okay, and I am not in a view where I can see raised hands, so I don't know if Paige, you want to help me
I don't see any raised.
call on people who might be having questions?
Yeah, I don't see any raised hands or
There's a few questions in the chat.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Great.
I'll read one aloud. From Lauren, what are some ways you keep teachers motivated when they feel overwhelmed in the classroom, especially for new teachers? Is there anyone who wants to take that? I don't know, Kavitha, maybe?
This happens sometimes in our classroom because we have the inclusion children also, and sometimes it is hard. But what we just, I think in our group we had 3 teachers, and we just look at each other sometimes, and when the other teacher needs help, we just step in. We don't even ask, okay, why don't you just go to the other area? I'll take care of this child. And so we take turns, maybe like 15 minutes with that child, well, one person for 15 minutes, and then we just rotate. So it's not overbearing for one teacher to deal with that child. So it helps too. And just take small breaths, drink water, whatever helps. And just, that's how we do it. So, and and as a CD, when the children teachers are doing anything positive, like positive or anything which great, I immediately say, just give a thumbs up and say, wow, you did amazing. That motivates the teachers to do more in the classroom. Catch the positive moments rather than criticizing them more, kind of. That's what I do in the classroom. Hope this helps.
Thank you, Kavitha. And then Nini had a question about, will there be a difference within school districts or private centers? I don't know if you know the answer to that, Lawanda, if there's someone else.
There isn't a difference in terms of the law. I mean, it's the law again makes it permissible. But I would say the difference is the facilities. Sometimes community programs are a little more prepared to serve that age group because they typically have been serving them or can make the shift a little bit more easier. School districts, their facilities aren't necessarily set up to do that. So there's usually a conversation to be had with their facilities department along with their early education department about what that looks like, having the right size toilets, right size sinks, is it, rehabbing a classroom or two to right size the classroom for this age cohort, because these are the littles of the littles. And it's very important they're in a safe environment in terms of inside and outside. Again, health and safety standards have to be met according to Title 22 requirements for community care licensing and Title V for programming. So those will apply to both community-based programs and school districts. But school districts, I can say probably most likely have the biggest shift because of the facilities. The other biggest shift is professional development of their personnel, their staff. And I would say that's all of us, but I know the parent infant toddler caregiver program is seeing an increase in training. I know that the colleges are seeing an increase in training for infant toddler specialization so that teachers and caregivers feel a lot more prepared to work with this age group and their developmental needs. So. And of course, the R&Rs, thank you, Paige, the resource and referral agencies, and so forth will be a great resource for that.
Thank you.
I don't see any other questions in the chat, so.
Someone just put one in.
Oh, you have a faster internet than me, Priya. Ah, there you go. Is reflective practice an approach that's built into your work with infants and toddlers? I imagine time is an issue, but inquiring. I don't know if there's anyone who wants to take that on. Question on. Kavitha, is that part of what you do, or Natanya?
Yes, we do this because again, in Kitango, we have the early mental health consultation for children, for teachers. And we meet once a week. That mental health consultant comes and observes the classroom and observes us as how we deal with the children in the classroom. And then in the afternoon, we meet as a group for 1 hour, and she helps us to do the reflective practice, like what we could have done better, kind of. So we have the help in the school. So it really helps because sometimes we just do things at the moment. We don't think sometimes as human beings, but when there's a third eye looking at us and letting us know, we can grow better.
Thank you.
For me, for reflective practice, I usually write down things that I've noticed with children and kind of talk with the parents and kind of say, hey, I've noticed this. Is there something that you're noticing at home? And so we kind of do that reflective back and forth. And if a parent does have concerns around maybe autism or things that I've noticed, I gently bring it into the conversation where I am introducing to the parent, hey, let's look at possibly trying this. You do this, I do this. And I also let the parent know that this is a process that we're working together. So the parent doesn't feel like, am I the only one dealing with this with my child? Or does her or his teacher, Miss Natanya, see the same thing? So my reflective practice is basically talking with the parent directly. And then if I feel like I'm kind of needing a little bit more support, then I'll reach out to my association that I'm a part of, and then see what other providers have as far as support with that.
Thank you.
I think that might be it.
Sounds good. So now we're going to turn over to Diana and talking about breakout room.
Ellen, there's one more question. I think we have time.
Sure. How is the ratio effect for parents if there are more students who are 2 years old with, and then I can't read the last word, with an IEP maybe? No. Is that the right question?
Yes.
Am I getting that?
Yes.
Okay. So talking about ratios with infants and maybe family child care. I think that would be interesting.
It said paras, I think, like schools maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, Lawanda, do you have any thoughts about this?
Let me make sure I understand the question. I believe right now for 2-year-olds, if I'm correct, there might be a 1-to-6. I have to look up the ratio, 1-to-6 ratio. But I'm not sure because I don't think I quite understand the question. Is it saying if there's 2-year-olds with IEPs, like an inclusive classroom?
I think it might be an inclusion question. Yeah, I think that's what it's getting at. So if there are more students who are 2 years old who also have IEPs, would the ratio be affected for paras? So essentially, would there be more access to paras?
I would imagine so. I would check. I don't want to mislead anyone, but I would check. I believe each school district, has an inclusive program, and I would check with your professional development. And I'm seeing that Gloria said there's a 1-to-4 ratio for early Head Start. Okay. I know for infants there's a 1-to-4 ratio, but with them being 2-year-olds, I would have to check. I might be able to check while I'm online.
And I see Winona Elms from City of Oakland Head Start's jumping in with some thoughts there too. And Jody in the chat had some ratio information. There was one question from Kavitha. Will there be a shift in preschool ratios as we are having more 3-year-olds in the classrooms? I don't know. That might be a Lawanda question again.
Yeah. Right now, they had a 1-to-12 ratio. It's supposed to go down to a 1-to-10 ratio for, I'm thinking TK. Those ratios I think will stay the same. But if it's TK, I know it's shifted from 1-to-12 to now supposed to shift to 1-to-10. But if you're asking for the 3-year-old ratio, I believe most programs are doing a 1-to-8. And can someone from OUSD verify if that's the case?
If someone from OUSD wants to put that into the chat, they can, but I think we are going to move on to breakout rooms.
Okay, sounds good. And let me see if I can do some CSI on ratios.
Thank you, Dr.
Welcome.
All right, so Diana, take it away. I think you're going to give us some instructions.
Hi, everyone. So we're going to go into our breakout rooms, and each of your rooms, you'll have a facilitator to lead you through some questions and discussion, and then we will all meet back here in the main room to close the meeting at around 7:55. So enjoy.
Actually, it's going to be a little later tonight, 8:15. Sorry, that's my fault.
Oh, sorry, 8:15.
8:15.
You've got more time. All right, enjoy, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome back. Welcome back. I
Thank
want
you.
to remind you that if your interpretation is turned off, you can reselect English, Spanish, or Chinese again. Thank you, everyone, for your participation and the energizing discussions in the small groups that you were in. I know that I learned a lot tonight from all our presenters and our participants, and I hope that you did too. We really appreciate you spending your evening with us. We will be sending out an email with a meeting evaluation form. Please fill that out. We really want your feedback about this and future events. This email will also include your professional development certificate for tonight and any resources shared by our speakers. Before we conclude, we want to be sure to thank the Rainin Foundation, Tandem Partners for Early Learning, and the Packard Foundation for supporting this symposium this evening. And thank you to all of our wonderful partners who helped plan this event, Oakland Starting Smart and Strong staff, our interpreters, and of course, our speakers and small group facilitators. We hope to see you on Saturday. Don't forget to register. We will see you this Saturday at our follow-up event. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, and you too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Buenas
Good night.
Thank
Buenas
you.
noches,
Thank you,
everyone.
everybody.
Buenas
Thank you. Good
noches.
night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.